The business end of the championship season is well and truly underway, and in this video we're going to be ranking every single championship club's run-in to the season. As always, if you do find value from the content, please leave a like and subscribe, and in the comments down below, tell me, how do you view your team's run-in to the campaign? Let's begin with introducing our tier list. Our bottom tier, ouch, is an ouch kind of run-in to the campaign. Above that, not kind. The middle tier, will take that. Above, solid. And then, of course, our top tier, no excuses. Of course, there are no easy games in the championship, but every single team will be put into one of these categories. So, as you can see here, I have created a spreadsheet that shows us every single game your club has from the 15th of March until the 3rd of May. Colour-coded too, to give us a rough guide of the difficulty. You can see the key down in that bottom left. I've also bordered the most defining fixtures. So beginning with Derby County, who are 22nd in the league with 32 points. I have identified Portsmouth away and Luton at home, and then their final two fixtures, Hull City away and Stoke City at home. I think they are the most defining fixtures for Derby County. And I look at that run-in and it could be harsher. I think it could be far more harsh. They've also got Plymouth next as well on Saturday. That's away from home against Plymouth, but of course Plymouth are in pretty honking form right now. They have got some home games too, Preston and then Burnley, which won't be easy. Swansea City, I think, are just outside of this relegation scrap. They've got them too. West Brom away will not be easy based on their current form and their hunt for the top six. You could look at Swansea and say, will they be on the beach by the time that game's played on the 5th of April? Perhaps. But I'm looking at Plymouth. I'm then especially looking at Portsmouth, Luton Town, Hull City and Stoke City on the final day. They could be some really interesting games. We know the easiest way to get out of a relegation scrap or get ourselves out of a relegation zone in which they do find themselves as of recording is pick up points from the teams around you. And Derby have got an opportunity to do so. I think it could be much worse. Let's put them on a tier list. I think it's pretty solid. I think it is solid. Off the back of a 3-0 win against Blackburn too, it could be far more challenging for Derby. They've got some games there that are winnable. And they've got an opportunity to, like I say, take points off the teams down there with them. Next up, Plymouth Argyle, who are bottom of the table, really struggling, as they have been for the majority of the season. 30 points after 36 games. Let's take a look at their fixtures and, of course, also identify their most defining matches. As mentioned with Derby County, their game on the 15th of March against Derby County at home, I think will be extremely defining. They've got to get something from that game. I think they've got to win that game when you look at the current league table and, of course, the position that Derby County find themselves. Then Watford away, that's not nice whatsoever. Norwich at home, they've got to use their home form. Last season, the reason why Plymouth stayed in the league was because of that home form. There's some really tricky home games in there. Norwich, Sheffield United, Coventry City and Leeds. That's nasty. Really, really nasty. They might be at home. Their home form has not been as good this season whatsoever. And you've got some really tricky matches in there. Perhaps identify Norwich could be interesting. We don't quite know the position that Norwich will be in. They might be out of the top 6 race by then. That's on the 5th of April. But even their away games, Watford away is not nice. Swansea City perhaps has to be identified too. Middlesbrough, not kind. Preston, possibly on the beach too, alongside Swansea City, not looking down or up come the 26th of April. Not a nice way to end the season at home to Leeds United, who could still be well and truly in that title race. You've got teams there at home, especially, that aren't very nice, and away teams also fighting for so much as well. That's not nice for Plymouth, and based on their current form too, you really don't back them. It could be ouch. I think it is ouch. Even with that game against Derby County next, it's still an extremely difficult run into the season. Next, Luton Town, 23rd in the league as of recording, 31 points after 36 games, a pretty abysmal season for them. 5 points currently is the difference between themselves and safety. Let's take a look at their fixtures and their most defining matches. They have got teams down there with them to play. Hull City and Stoke City both away, which will be tricky because their away form is bad. I mean, the whole season's been pretty bad, but away from home, they are worse. The reason why I've highlighted Blackburn, Derby County, and Bristol City is because their home form has to be used, and it has been slightly better. I mean, it's not difficult than their away form. I'm looking at Blackburn at home, Derby away, and Bristol City at home. They've also got Coventry after that as well. I think you're looking at, of course, the teams around you to pick up points against. Middlesbrough, Leeds, Coventry, West Brom away on the final day. It's certainly not kind, but the fact they're playing Hull City, Stoke City, and Derby County, they have got an opportunity, and they've got a few home games in there as well. So, for that reason, I think it is probably not kind. I don't think they take it. They've still got some extremely difficult matches, and some of the games they've got against the teams in that relegation scrap are away, Hull and Stoke. But they have got some home games, and they have got the opportunity to pick up points. So, not kind for Luton is where I'm putting them. Cardiff City are the next team to chat about. I'm looking at possibly 3 out of a 4-game run that could define their season. Especially Stoke City at home. That is humongous. Oxford United at home as well is massive for both sides. But they're at home, Cardiff, in both of those games, and they have to take advantage. They've also got Sheffield Wednesday at home as well, and Sheffield United, which could be a slight free hit. But at home, they have to take advantage. They're playing Sheffield Wednesday, QPR and Preston. Again, 2 of which are away from home. But these are sides that should be on the beach by then. Now, do you read into that? I'm not so sure. Teams will always say they're looking to win every match, whether they're fighting for something or not. But there will always be a slight drop-off, and there should be an enhanced sense of, not attitude, but there should be that bit inside you that goes, yeah, we're still going for something here. We have to find an edge. So those games are going to be huge. Sheffield Wednesday, QPR, Preston, but especially Stoke City and Oxford United at home between the 12th of April and the 21st of April as well. I think it could be far worse. You're playing teams that might not be fighting for so much, and also teams down there with you at home as well. I think they probably take that, to be honest, Cardiff, and that's where I'm going to put you, in that we'll take that tier. Stoke City next. I think they've got to pick up some points before Leeds and Sheffield United on the 21st of April and the 26th of April, because they're going to be extremely difficult. But there is an opportunity before that to pick up some points. QPR at home, based on their current form, not in a good place. They should be identifying that match. A lot can change between now and the 29th of March, but as of recording, QPR not in a great place, and they're not fighting for so much either. Preston in the similar spot to QPR. But Luton Town at home, massive game. Cardiff City could be humongous. Sheffield Wednesday, a similar boat to QPR and Preston. And then Derby County on the final day could be really significant too. But I think picking up some points before Leeds and Sheffield United will be key for Stoke City. And there are some home games there and teams that I don't think have got so much to play for to look at and potentially beat. I think Stoke City will probably take that, if not solid, actually. I think solid for Stoke City. Hull City are up next, and interestingly, the first team we're going to speak about that haven't got a team in the current top 4 still to play home or away. So that's something to bear in mind. 37 points so far, 36 games played as of recording, 19th in the Championship table. I think their fixtures could be far worse. Luton Town at home, Preston at home, Derby County at home still to play. Pompey away on the final day too. I'm looking at a period, especially the 21st of April, 26th of April, both home games then. They could be safe by then. They could be dragged into it. Either way, they should definitely be looking at those matches. But I think there's also a period, Luton Town at home and Sheffield Wednesday at home, closer to current day, 29th of March and the 5th of April. They should be looking at that as well. And that probably should be enough to keep them up based on the current form of those teams in the bottom half, and especially those teams in the bottom 3, no disrespect. I think 2 to 3 wins will do it. I think they probably should do it before the 18th of April. I'd say Luton Town, they should be looking at. Sheffield Wednesday, not fighting for much. They could be looking at that as well. I know it's at Hillsborough, never nice, but I think Hull City could find themselves with a much harder fixture list than this. For that reason, of course, there's no excuses. That's going to rattle a few Hull City fans. Of course, there are plenty of excuses. But I think they'll be fine. And that fixture list reassures me. So for that reason, there's got to be a team in that top tier. Early doors, I'm putting Hull City. The one you've all been waiting for, Oxford United. We are 18th at the moment, 39 points. That's before the game we play on Wednesday. 36 matches, of course, as of recording this. It's not kind. Without spoiling the tier I'm going to put us in, it's not kind at all. I think the biggest game is the match on Wednesday. I don't know the final score in that one, of course. That's being played in a couple of days' time. But either way, I think still, regardless of that result, the 15th of March on Saturday against Watford is a massive game. At home this season, we've been better than away from home. So Watford at home should be a match we look at. Also, Queen's Park Rangers at home is another match we should be looking at too. Cardiff City away could be really significant on the 21st of April. But if you look at the home matches, they're not great, are they? Sheffield United, Leeds and Sunderland still to play. At home, there is a slightly better chance of getting something. We might be able to nick a point in one of those games. But you've got to get something from that game on Wednesday. And definitely something. Probably 3 points against Watford. Again, we might get away with a singular point if we win on Wednesday. If we don't get at least one win from those two games, I will start to get worried once again. Because I look at the rest of those home matches, they're not great. Swansea City on the final day could be really significant if we get severely dragged back into it and we need to pick up a point on the final day. At least that is one that a team I don't think will be dragged into it, won't be fighting for so much. And I don't think we'll be looking at the top 6 finish either. So, yeah, let's go with that. But those home matches are very, very difficult. Watford and QPR are the matches at home I think we've got to be identifying. For that reason, it's probably... it's either ouch or not kind for me. I'm going to say not kind because we've got that game against Watford, we've got that game on Wednesday, and we've got that game against QPR. And if you're going to have the top 4, or 3 of the top 4, at least have them at home to give yourself a slimmer of a chance. I could be underplaying it, but I'm going to go with not kind for Oxford United. The final team that I think are just about still in that bottom 3 fight, and that could be over by the time their game against Plymouth is concluded on Wednesday. Pompey, let's talk about them. I think they are 1 win away, maybe 2 to be safe, but let's call it at 4 points away from being safe, which is so impressive. A fantastic run recently, a win against Leeds United that will, I think, go down in history, in recent history for sure, because that was a phenomenal win and such a big statement. Their home form this season has been fantastic. 9th for home form. Picked up the most points at home out of any other team in the Championship. This could be a pointless conversation, but let's take a look at those games. Blackburn, Derby, Watford and Hull City. I think at home, you just do fancy Pompey. You just do. At Fratton Park this season, they've made it a fortress. You just do look at those matches and expect them to win. You should never expect any team to win. But I think you do, based on how good they've been on home soil. I think Pompey, in terms of their expectation and staying up, based on these final fixtures, some really positive home games to play. Of course, there's no excuses. There's plenty of excuses, but their form, their running could be so much more difficult. It could be. I think they're going to be fine. I think there's no excuses for them to stay up. I really don't want to waste anyone's time, but don't think I'm not thinking about you. I think Swansea, Preston, QPR, Sheffield Wednesday. I'm going to jump in now and quickly talk about Sheffield Wednesday, because when I originally filmed this, before their win against Norwich, I didn't have them in that playoff conversation. I had them as a side down as on the beach, in inverted commas. But I'm going to change that and talk about their running, because after that win against Norwich, and a fantastic win it was, I think it's worth a chat. They're only 5 points off Coventry, who are in 6th place. And if you look at their running, the next game is massive. Of course, it's the derby against Sheffield United. But after that, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games against teams that are still in that relegation scrap, or definitely 5 teams that are in the positions between 17th and 24th. And if you look at them a little bit closer, you've got 3 of them at home as well: Hull City, Oxford United, and Portsmouth. Having the derby at home, I think, is a massive advantage. Of course, you're going to be underdogs based on the fact that it's Sheffield United who are in a better position than you. But derbies are hard to predict, and having that home advantage will be crucial. You've got Middlesbrough at home too, Watford away on the final day. Look, I don't think it's easy by any stretch, but if you look at where they are now and that fantastic win over Norwich City and what that will bring in terms of confidence too, I think Sheffield Wednesday could still be in this chat for a finish in those top 6 positions. If you look at their running on its own, I think it could be in that top tier. I'm going to put them in no excuses. There's plenty of excuses, of course, but I think as runnings go, for a late charge in the top 6, they'd absolutely snap your hand off of that run. And Millwall are in no fear of the bottom 3 and won't be fighting for the top 6. For that reason, I'm not going to go into as much detail on them, but I'm still going to put them on the tier list, and you can see their places on the screen now. So I'm not thinking about you. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't think it needs to be spoken about. You've stayed in the league and you're not going up. You can disagree. I'm sorry, but I don't want to make this video longer than it needs to be. So I'm going to focus on the teams that are still fighting for something at the top and the bottom end of the league table. But your places on the tier list are available on the screen now. So moving on to the first team that I think are still just about in the race for the top 6. And of course, Norwich fans, in the comments down below, let me know, do you think you're still in a playoff race? As of recording, 10th in the league, 49 points. That's a 6-point swing between themselves and the first team in the playoffs, West Brom. The games aren't kind. They're not very kind. Still Sunderland and Burnley. They're going to be really, really interesting. But you've also got 3 teams that you're fighting with. Bristol City on Friday and tomorrow, as you're watching this, is huge. Absolutely massive. And I think that could possibly be make or break. I think it could be. I think if you lose to Bristol City, I do see Norwich falling away slightly because they are, alongside Middlesbrough, on the verge of falling out of that hunt. But if you win that game, you've then got West Brom after that, who again are also in there with you. On the 26th of April, you've got Middlesbrough away. Again, we don't quite know what that will look like on the 26th of April, but you could still be fighting with them. That's an away fixture. There's some very tough ones in there. The home games, again, West Brom, Sunderland, Pompey and Cardiff. You've got 2 teams, Pompey and Cardiff, that are in the bottom end of the table. Pompey could be on the beach by them and safe. Cardiff City could, similar to Pompey, be on the beach and safe by them. Or they could, on the other end of that, be still fighting for their lives, which wouldn't be a nice match whatsoever. Millwall could be on the beach based on their current position. I don't think it's very kind, though. I don't think it's very kind. You've got 3 teams fighting alongside with you for the top 6, 2 of which are away. And like I said, I think it could be over based on the result against Bristol City on Friday. That's a massive game. That should be the next game to worry about, of course. But beyond that, it's very difficult. For that reason, I'm going to put Norwich City in not kind. Similar to Norwich, really, for Watford, just about in, I think, the top 6 race right now. 11th in the league, but the same number of points as 10th Norwich City. I think they've got to pick up maximum points from their next 2 games. Oxford United and Plymouth. Hopefully, Oxford make it difficult for our sake, but they should be looking at winning that game. And then Plymouth as well on the 29th of March. They've got to be winning that as well. If Watford still want to be in the hunt, I think it's got to be 6 points from those games. I think it has to be 6 points indeed, because you've then got Bristol City, Hull at home. Again, has to be 3 points to stay in this race, I think. Bristol City, West Brom and Blackburn. 3 teams in there with you, fighting against you. We know, similar to that bottom 3, you've got to be looking at picking up points against the teams that are fighting for the similar positions. And to all of them be away, that's not nice. We know Watford at home this season are far better than they are away from home. To have all of those matches on the road isn't great. It's not ideal. But it does mean their home form has to be great. Plymouth, Hull City, even Pompey should be safe by then. They've got to go to Fratton Park and win, which isn't nice, but it has to be done. If you want to be a serious contender for the top six, you've got to find a way to beat the teams down there, especially home or away, really, especially when you've got all the teams that are fighting with you away from home. Burnley at home will not be nice. Sheffield Wednesday in the last game of the season, that could be everything if you're still in the fight, and you've got to pick up 3 points there as well. The home games are going to be massive, but I think most importantly, the next two are going to be key as well. Oxford and Plymouth. You've got one team in the top four, and you've got four teams that are below 17th as of the recording right now. And if you're a serious contender to finish in the playoff places, I think you've got to be looking at picking up maximum points and not losing any of those games in particular. But to stay in the hunt next to a massive, I think Watford will probably take that, to be honest. I think they probably will. It could be over pretty quickly, but it could be well and truly on if they pick up points from two teams down there in their next couple of games. Middlesbrough are next, currently 9th in the league, 50 points, 5-point swing that is from themselves and the final top six position. I think exactly the same as Watford. They have to be looking at their next two matches and picking up maximum points. Luton Town and Oxford United, that has to be 6 points. Middlesbrough have been so inconsistent in the second half of the season. Post-Christmas, they've been far too inconsistent. There was a conversation of a top two finish. They're now scrapping for a position in the playoffs, and that will still be their aim and expectation. But on the road, in games they should be winning, and at home too, but away especially, I'm looking at that last game against Swansea. That's not acceptable. They have to be winning those types of matches if they want to be taken seriously. The next two, Luton Town and Oxford United, I don't care one of them's away from home. They've got to be picking up 6 points from those matches because they've got Leeds at home still to play. Blackburn away, who are down, or up there, should I say, not down there with them, up there with them, but outside the playoff places with them. Plymouth at home has to be 3 points. Even Millwall and Sheffield Wednesday. These are teams that won't be fighting for much, we expect, on the 12th of April or the 21st of April. Norwich at home, a huge game against a fellow playoff chaser. And then Coventry City. That could be a real crunch match on the final game of the season for both Coventry and Middlesbrough. I think they'll probably take it. They've only got one team in the current top four still to play. They have got two teams with them in the fight against Blackburn and Coventry, who are both away fixtures. But Oxford, Luton and Plymouth should all be winnable games. They've got their next two, which are going to be hugely defining and could be make or break for them. I think if you gave them that fixture list and said, can you do it? Will you take that? I think they probably just about will, to be honest. So for that reason, I'm going to put them in the will take that category. They could view it differently. Let me know, Middlesbrough fans. But to have those next two games available to you, you've got to beat them if you want to be taken seriously. For that reason, I think they'll just about take it. Blackburn next, and as of recording, 3 points away from the playoffs, 52 points. Their next four matches, I think, and we could stretch longer than that, but let's look at the next four in particular. Very, very important. Cardiff City at home, they have to win that game if they want to stay in the race. Pompey away could be safe by the 29th of March. They've got to be picking up points at Fratton Park. Much easier said than done based on their home form. But if you want to be taken seriously, beating a team who are below 17th or could be 17th and definitely not fighting for much, as we expect, has to be 3 points. Middlesbrough and Sheffield Wednesday, both at home. You've got a team there that you're fighting with in Middlesbrough at home. Take advantage. Sheffield Wednesday shouldn't be playing for much at home too. Luton Town, we expect to still be in a dogfight. That won't be easy away from home. But to be taken seriously, you've got to pick up something. Millwall at home, again, not really playing for much. At home, they have to be taking advantage of that block of games because their final three, Watford at home, possibly still fighting for something. That's going to be tricky. Home advantage perhaps plays a part. But that block of games, Cardiff to Luton Town, between the 15th of March and the 12th of April are huge because you've still got Sunderland and Sheffield United both away still to play. And you don't want to be looking for points to get yourself into the top six against those two teams. There's an opportunity before you play those matches to pick up points. There's an argument in all of those matches to say, there should be something in there for Blackburn Rovers. And if they want to finish in the playoffs, there's an opportunity. For that reason, I think I don't really want the Sunderland-Sheffield United game because I don't think that's going to define their season. I think it's the games before that are going to make the difference. Those games, if they've got the first bit right, those next 2 games or 3 games against those top 4 teams away from home who could still well and truly be in a title race, that shouldn't really be the problem, if you know what I mean. There'll definitely be a problem, but that shouldn't be the reason why Blackburn don't do it, because the block of games before that is the reason why they will or won't be competing in this year's playoffs. I think it's either solid or we'll take it. I think just because you've still got to play those 2 teams away from home, it probably isn't solid. But I think they should take it because there's a chance, and that's what they want. So I'm going to put Blackburn Rovers in solid. Bristol City next, 7th in the league, 53 points, 2 points away from West Brom in 6th, but they've still got to play Burnley, Sunderland and Leeds. Burnley and Leeds are on the road. The only team in this top 6 race. They've still got 3 out of the 4 teams in the current top 4 still to face, and that's not kind at all. But their next game on the 15th of March against Norwich, I think is extremely difficult, but they've got to find a way to win. And Bristol City at times this season have really struggled. And the reason why they're not in the top 6 is because they can sometimes really struggle to find a way to win in games they just should be winning. A prime example recently, the last game against Hull City, down to 10 men in the opposition for the majority of that game, or for large parts of that game. I think it was the majority, very early on that red card. They didn't win that game. They couldn't find a way to win all 3 points. Oxford United in that game too. They had to be beating Oxford United. I know there was a red card in that game, but if you look at teams down there, Oxford were and still are down there. If you're looking to be a top 6 team, you've got to find a way to pick up all 3 points. Norwich, it's going to be challenging. Burnley away, very, very tough. One of the toughest. Watford at home, West Brom away. They're the 2 games in there at home. They have to be taken advantage of. QPR, 12th of April, away from home. Again, find a way to win that game against a team that shouldn't really be fighting for much. Sunderland at home, going to be really tricky. Then Luton, sandwiched in between Sunderland and Leeds. You're not going to get much, I don't think, from Sunderland and Leeds. Could do, but on paper, you're probably not. So Luton, sandwiched in between those 2, it's probably still got to be 3 points. At that stage, you're still going to be fighting for every single point, we imagine. And then Preston at home on the final day. Again, you've got to be looking at that as all 3 points. It's still very difficult, though. It's still extremely difficult. Shining light, you've got Norwich and West Brom fighting with you. Those 2 matches are at home. It's a good opportunity to take points against teams who you're fighting similar positions with. But I can't look past the fact you've got Burnley, Sunderland and Leeds still to play, and that's very, very difficult. For that reason, it's either not kind or ouch. I think purely because you've got the teams like Norwich and West Brom, Watford, Preston, Luton in there too. If you want to be taken seriously, they are winnable fixtures. There's far harder fixtures to play. Granted, you're still sandwiching those matches between Burnley, Sunderland and Leeds. I think it's probably not kind. It could be ouch. Bristol City fans, am I underplaying that fixture list? There are games in there you should be identifying. And the matches that could be everything are at least at home. So I'm going to put you in not kind. West Brom are 6th right now with a 2-point cushion inside the playoff places. The best way to look at West Brom's running is a nice-ish start and a nice-ish end. The middle, quite tricky. Let's look at that middle patch. Norwich, Sunderland, Bristol City, Watford and Coventry. You've got Norwich in there, Bristol City and Coventry, all teams in that fight with you. Definitely Bristol City and Coventry away from home. And that's not kind. That's not ideal. You want some of them to be at home. They've been good at home in the last couple of weeks. So to win those matches, you'd much rather them be at your home ground. So Bristol City, Coventry City, Norwich, very, very challenging, all of which are on the road. Sunderland and Watford in there are at least home games. So, that's a possible shining light. But if we look at the final 3, you've got to be picking up 9 points, 3 wins out of those final fixtures between the 21st of April and the 3rd of May, in my opinion. I think you're still going to be in the hunt. I think some teams are going to take it right down to the wire. West Brom, I see in that pack. I think every team, looking for a playoff place up to Coventry in 5th are going to take it down to the final few games of the season. So I think Derby County, Cardiff City and Luton Town, they're the points where you've got to pick up maximum, absolutely maximum, because you've got Coventry, ironically, the game before that run as well. So I think they'll take it. I think West Brom will take it. Look, you've got Coventry, Bristol City both away, Sunderland at home, not nice whatsoever. Norwich away, again, not kind. You've got Hull City, Derby County, Luton Town, Cardiff City, all down there. 3 out of 4 at home as well. I think you should be taking that. You're going to end the season strong. You've got to end the season strong, and you've got an opportunity to do that. We always say, and if we're looking further than that, can you take a good run into the playoffs? That's also really important too. There's an opportunity for that to happen as well. So for that reason, West Brom, I think you'll probably take that. Not to say it's solid or kind whatsoever. There's, of course, some really tricky matches, especially with teams also in the fight for the top 6 positions. But you've got 4 teams there that are in, as of right now, the bottom 19. Actually, the bottom 21. So for that reason, that has to be looked at as a positive. I think West Brom will take that. Coventry City, what a run they've been on. Let's see if it continues. 5th in the league, 56 points. Surely they're going to win every game between now and the end of the season. Let's see. Sunderland, Sheffield United and Burnley, the next 3 matches. That's going to be very difficult. We're going to see Coventry City under Frank Lampard play some top opposition. Maybe not defining, but it's going to give us an opportunity to really see what this team can do against 3 out of the top 4 in the league. Sheffield United on 28th of March is on a Friday night away from home. Sunderland and Burnley are at home. Possible. Going to be extremely difficult. Possible. After that, Portsmouth, Hull, Plymouth and Luton. You've got teams there either on the beach or still in those bottom positions away from home. You've also got West Brom and Middlesbrough. Games in there against teams fighting with you for a top 6 position. It's a fascinating run-in. It's a really mixed run-in. You've got games against teams that are down there. Some teams that could possibly be on the beach. Teams that have been dreadful this season. Games against teams that are in the top 6 race with you, but they're at home. And then you've got, before all of that, 3 games against the top 4. So, it's quite difficult to look at. It's going to be really difficult to look at. I think you've got to, it's going to sound silly, you've got to get to the 9th of April still in the hunt. I think you've got to pick up something from those next 3 games. And Coventry will feel they definitely can do that. I don't want to come across like those games are impossible. They're definitely not. Based on their current performances, there's definitely an opportunity for them to get something from that game, especially those home games. Sunderland, and it's going to be a fascinating match on Saturday. Sheffield United away from home, go and take them, go and take the game to them, I'd say. Burnley don't concede many goals. Coventry trying to score lots of goals at the moment. Get past those next 3 games with something, well and truly still in the race, and then you've got a run there where we're also going to see what you can do against a very different type of opposition. Difficult to rank Coventry, extremely mixed, so massive games in there. Wow, that was a passionate speech. Let's put them in the... It's so difficult. It's not kind. It's also a bit of solid. It's also a bit of we'll take it. For that reason, let's play it safe and put them right in the middle with we'll take it. They've got a bit of everything in there. They've got an ouch. They've got a not kind. And they've got every other tier, plus ones we haven't even created ourselves. Let's go in the middle with we'll take that. But it's going to be fascinating, Coventry. Great run and a very mixed run into the season. The first team in the top 4, Sunderland, currently on 68 points. It is a 8-point swing between themselves and second. Are they still in that top 2 conversation? Not entirely convinced. They haven't got to play a team above them this season again, which is a positive. I'm not sure where Sunderland are. They're not in a top 6 battle. Don't take this the wrong way. I don't think you're so much in a top 2 battle either. 8 points feels like quite a lot. A lot can happen. Win every game, and we'll see, of course. I'll definitely win those next matches and try and close that gap, and it all opens up. But regardless of that, let's take a look. You've got Coventry City away. That's going to be really difficult. Then Millwall at home. Don't think they'll be playing for too much. West Brom away, fighting for something. Norwich away, fighting for something, potentially still on the 8th of April. Swansea City, maybe not so much. Bristol City, definitely. Blackburn, you'd think so. Oxford, hopefully, of course, at the bottom end of the table. And then QPR at home on the final day. I'll be honest, Sunderland fans, prove me wrong. I don't think you are in that top 2 conversation. Maybe the conversation, but not. I, I just don't see you getting there, to be honest. I mean, that is too many points, unfortunately. What I would say is end the season strong. Look at those games against Blackburn, Oxford, and QPR. You want to get yourselves into the playoffs comfortably, which I think you will do, definitely, with a good run of form. And Blackburn at home, Oxford away, and QPR at home is an opportunity to do that. And also solidify yourself with wins at home against Millwall, Swansea, and QPR as well, against teams that maybe aren't fighting for as much. Some tricky matches in there, away from home, against teams in that top 6 battle, teams in form like Coventry City on the 15th of March. Sunderland, I think it's difficult. I think they'll take it. I don't know where Sunderland fans are right now. Please let me know. I don't think you are going to finish in second place or above, but I think you're definitely going to be in the top 6. So I'd say with Sunderland, end the season strong. There's an opportunity to still pick up points. Go and do that, and then fly in the playoffs with a real set of results to follow you. Burnley are in third right now, 74 points, 2 points off Sheffield United and Leeds, who are in first and second. All eyes, of course, will be on the 21st of April against Sheffield United. But let's not jump the gun. Let's look before that, because they've got to stay in the race first and foremost, of course. They've got to stay in that top 2 race. They've got to make up some ground as well, because 2 points doesn't sound like much, but it's important when you've got teams that are winning. Sheffield United are in a great spot right now. Burnley, of course, also, obviously, as we talk about them, are in a great place. Leeds United, last couple of games, have slipped and opened this race up. I'm also looking at Bristol City and Coventry City, because these are 2 teams that are going to be desperate to stay in the race and or keep a position or find themselves creep into those top 6 positions. That's not a nice set of games on the 29th of March and against the 5th of April. Lots of fighting teams. Derby as well, probably still fighting at that point, you'd imagine. Norwich and Watford could still be fighting at that point. It's like outsiders at this moment in time, might be out of it. You still got to find a way. You've then got Sheffield United, which is, of course, a massive fixture. I might have downplayed it slightly, but that is going to be huge. And then the final 2 games against QPR and Millwall, again, teams that are not going to be playing for much, we imagine. For that reason, I think Burnley will probably take it. You've got a mixture there of teams that are fighting for stuff. You've got a mixture of teams that are not fighting for much. And of course, you've then got the big one against Sheffield United. 29th of March and 5th of April, believe me, they're going to be a really, really difficult set of fixtures, obviously. But everyone will look at Sheffield United. The reason why I mention that is because it's going to be everyone's going to be looking at the 21st of April. But before that, you've got lots of teams in this top 6 race that are in great form right now who are going to be desperate to stay or creep themselves back into that conversation. For that reason, I think Burnley, I don't think it's very kind. I don't think it's very kind. Would they have taken it perhaps? Maybe. That Sheffield United game being at home, I think, is perhaps important. Maybe they take it. Maybe it's not very kind. I think they... I'm stuck here. I'm going to go we'll take it. I think they'll probably just about take it. You've got teams there that... It's mixed. It's mixed. Before I change my mind, let's go we'll take it. I can easily see a reason why people will say, and Burnley fans will say, it's not very kind. Sheffield United are in second place, the same number of points as Leeds United. I'm looking at a 4-game span between the 12th of April and the 26th of April. You've got 3 teams in there that are fighting at the bottom end of the league table. Plymouth could be relegated by that point. Cardiff City, again, struggled this season at home. That has to be winnable. Stoke City as well. That has to be winnable, albeit it's away from home. Because in between all of that, you've got a massive game away against Burnley, which I imagine will be an extremely difficult watch, but could be and I think will be very, very defining. And then Blackburn away on the final game of the season. Who knows if they're still going to be in that conversation for the top 6. Before that, Sheffield Wednesday. That's going to be interesting, isn't it? That's going to be very, very fierce. Regardless of that being a derby, they have to be looking at, obviously, winning that game. You've got to try and take as much as you can. The players, the fans, I don't expect you to do that, but as players and as a football club, you've got to try and take the emotion out of that. Use it to your advantage, of course, but you've got to win that game. That has to be winnable. Don't make it. It will be. I know I'm saying this, but it doesn't really matter. Don't make it a real scrappy match that you'd probably expect Sheffield Wednesday to want to make it. Sheffield United, do your job and win that match, because that's extremely important, of course, for yourselves in the football club and what that means to the city, but it also could be massive. Coventry City, for the outcome of the league table, of course. Coventry City, going to be tricky. They're in fantastic form right now. Oxford United away. Hopefully they make that difficult, but it should be pretty easy for Sheffield United, or easier than a lot of fixtures you could have in there on the 5th of April. Millwall at home on the 8th. Again, not playing for much. That should be 3 points as well. And then you hit that 4-game period where I think you've got to win every game in between Burnley away. And that's going to be very, very difficult, of course, as we know. For that reason, I think they'll probably still take it. Leeds United, top of the table, 76 points, but it's extremely tight. Tighter than I think they'd want it to be. And they're going to make it difficult for themselves, as we saw at the weekend against Pompey. But looking at the fixtures, they haven't got to play a fellow top 4 team again this season. It's just whether or not they can avoid the banana skin. They've got to try and avoid the banana skin. And there are opportunities in there for them to slip away from home and at home and drop city points. They've got to find a way of getting a rhythm. The rhythm that we saw before the West Brom and the Pompey game. QPR, they've got to make no mistake of that. Swansea City at home, similar. Luton Town, Middlesbrough away. Middlesbrough away is going to be very difficult, for a different reason, because they're a better footballing side than the 3 teams mentioned. Luton Town, they have to find a way of winning that game. And then I'm looking at that block of 4, Preston, Oxford, Stoke City, Bristol City, block of 5. Let's stretch to Plymouth away on the final game of the season. Make no mistake. That's the message for Leeds United. On paper, it could be far worse. It could be far, far worse. But it's Leeds United, and I'm sure Leeds United fans, don't take this the wrong way. You'll have to admit it yourself. You are a team that will find a way of making it far more difficult than it needs to be. And there are opportunities for you to slip up. And for your sake, don't do it. You've got difficult games, of course. They're all difficult. But you've got winnable fixtures in there as well. 4 teams who are currently 17th and below. Plymouth and Luton, who are currently in that bottom 3 as of right now. Find a way, Leeds. Find a bloody way and get out of this league. I don't think there's no excuses, purely because it's Leeds, and you have got Middlesbrough as well. I think it's solid, though. On paper, it's a fixture list that could be far worse for them. But I'm going to put you in solid, because I know, Leeds fans, how you're feeling right now after that defeat against Pompey. You're feeling pretty hard done by. And also, you're very aware of what you're used to doing at this level. So let's put you in there. Leeds United, I'm putting you in solid.